I never planned to become the villain in my own home, but they pushed me until I had no other choice. The silence in the kitchen was so heavy it felt like it was choking me. My son, Leo, was staring at me with a look of pure betrayal, his jaw tight, his eyes cold. Beside him, Carmela looked down at her hands, playing the part of the wounded victim perfectly, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. The air smelled of dish soap and unresolved tension. Leo's voice cut through the quiet, low and dangerous. "You're really going to humiliate her like that? Over a few dollars? She's a guest, Mom." He waited for me to cave, to pull out my wallet like I always did, but this time my hand stayed at my side. But to understand how a simple offer of hospitality turned into a family war, we have to go back to the beginning. It started with a celebration. My son, Leo, had finally graduated university back in June. As a mother, you spend your whole life worrying about your children, praying they find their path, and seeing him walk across that stage was one of the proudest moments of my life. He found a job in the area almost immediately, which was a relief, but the housing market being what it is, he decided to move back home with us to save money. We have a full house. It's me, my husband David, and our 2 younger children, Mia and Sam, who are still in high school. Adding a 23-year-old man back into the mix was an adjustment, but we made it work. We've always been a close-knit family. We aren't rich, but we're comfortable. We value hard work, respect, and looking out for one another. Leo had been in a long-distance relationship with a girl named Carmela for about 2 years. I hadn't spent much time with her, mostly just brief hellos over FaceTime or a quick dinner when she visited for a weekend. She seemed sweet enough. She was 21, studying at a university 3 states away, or at least that was the plan. Things changed in October. Leo sat David and me down at the kitchen table one Tuesday evening. He looked nervous. He explained that Carmela had taken a semester off from college to deal with some personal burnout. She had been living with her mother, but apparently that situation had imploded. Her mother had given her an ultimatum: go back to school or move out. Since Carmela had decided she wasn't returning to campus, she effectively had nowhere to go. Leo was already planning to move into his own apartment in January, and they had discussed her moving in with him then. But January was months away, and she needed a roof over her head now. "Can she stay here?" Leo asked, his eyes pleading. "Just until January. She can get a job in the area, save up some money. Please, Mom, she has no one else." I looked at David. I knew what he was thinking. 6 people in one house is a lot of bodies, a lot of noise, and a lot of water usage. But I also don't believe in charging my children rent. I want them to launch into the world with a safety net, not a debt to their parents. It felt wrong to charge Carmela rent if I wasn't charging Leo. "Okay," I said, smiling at him. "She's welcome here. I just ask for the basics. Clean up after yourselves, help out around the house, and just be respectful of the fact that there are 4 other people living here." Leo beamed. "Done. Thank you, Mom. You won't even know she's here." Carmela moved in right after Halloween. At first, it was exactly as Leo promised. She was quiet, polite, and kept their room tidy. It was actually nice having another woman in the house. She seemed eager to please, constantly asking if she could help fold laundry or sweep the porch. She was still looking for a job, so she spent a lot of her days at the house while the rest of us were at work or school. To show her gratitude, she offered to take over the cooking on weeknights. "I love cooking," she told me one evening, leaning against the counter while I chopped vegetables. "It's the least I can do since you guys are letting me stay here for free. Please let me handle dinner." I hesitated. Cooking for 6 people is a chore, and I was usually exhausted after work. "Are you sure, Carmela? It's a lot of food to prep." "I insist," she smiled. "I want to earn my keep." It seemed like a blessing. For the first week, it was wonderful. I'd come home to the smell of roasting chicken or fresh-baked bread. We'd all sit down as a family, and the food was delicious. She was talented, far more adventurous in the kitchen than I typically was on a Tuesday night. About a week into this new arrangement, she came to me while I was drinking my morning coffee. "I wanted to make a specific pasta dish tonight," she said, looking a bit sheepish. "But you don't have the right cheese or the fresh herbs I need. Would you mind picking them up on your way home?" I checked my watch. I had a late meeting that day. "I probably won't make it to the store before dinner," I said. Then, without thinking too much about it, I reached into my purse. "Here, take my card. You can run to the grocery store during the day. Just get what you need for the recipe." "Oh, thank you," she said, taking the card. "I'll bring it right back." That night, she made a creamy Tuscan chicken pasta that was incredible. She handed me the card back along with the receipt. It was $20, totally reasonable. I thanked her, feeling like we had a really good system going. That was the moment the slope began to get slippery. I just didn't see the ice yet. The next week, it happened again. She wanted to make tacos, but we didn't have the specific spices or the right kind of tortillas. I gave her the card. Then it was Friday, and she wanted to make a roast, but we needed potatoes and carrots. I gave her the card. Slowly, the dynamics shifted. It wasn't just grabbing a missing ingredient anymore. She started doing the full grocery runs for the house. Potter, this was helpful. It saved me 2 hours on a Sunday. But then I started noticing the bags coming into the house. I'm a budget-conscious shopper. I buy store-brand cereal. I buy family packs of chicken thighs because they're cheaper than breasts. I plan meals around what's on sale. Carmela did not. I came home one Tuesday to find her unpacking 4 bags of groceries. There were artisanal cheeses, imported olives, sparkling waters, and brand-name snacks that I would never buy. "Oh, I just picked up a few extras," she chirped happily, putting a $12 jar of pesto into the pantry. I felt a little pinch of anxiety, but I pushed it down. She was cooking dinner after all. She was saving me time. Maybe I was being too stingy. I let it slide. But by the 3rd week, the few extras became the standard. The meals she was preparing were becoming elaborate feasts. We weren't having meatloaf, we were having veal. We weren't having tilapia, we were having fresh sea bass. One evening, I sat down at my desk to review the credit card statement online. My breath actually hitched in my throat. The grocery spending for the month had nearly doubled. There were charges for Whole Foods and high-end butchers that I had never visited in my life. There were multiple charges in a single week. $70 on Tuesday, $150 on Thursday, another $60 on Friday. I called David into the room. "Look at this," I whispered, pointing at the screen. He adjusted his glasses and let out a low whistle. "Is that all food?" "It's Carmela," I said, rubbing my temples. "She's treating my credit card like a blank check. She's cooking great food, but David, we can't eat like royalty every night. We have 4 kids to put through college eventually. This isn't sustainable." "You need to talk to her," David said gently. "She probably doesn't realize. She's young. She's used to just buying what she wants." He was right. I needed to set a boundary. The following Sunday, before she went out for the weekly shop, I sat her down. I tried to be casual and friendly about it. "Hey, Carmela," I said, handing her the card. "Listen, the grocery bills have been getting a little high lately. Can you please try to get everything we need for the whole week in one trip today, and maybe stick to the list a bit more? We need to watch the budget." She nodded earnestly. "Of course, I totally get it. One trip, stick to the basics. No problem." I breathed a sigh of relief. She understood. I wasn't the wicked witch. I was just the practical mom. That relief lasted exactly 24 hours. She came back that Sunday with a reasonable haul, but on Tuesday, I came home to find fresh salmon fillets on the counter. "Oh, I forgot to grab fish on Sunday," she said breezily as she seasoned them, "so I just popped out and grabbed some." I frowned. "Carmela, I asked you to do it in one trip." "I know," she said, not even looking up from her prep work, "but Leo really wanted fish, and the ones on Sunday didn't look fresh. It was only $40. Only $40 for one meal. For 6 people, that $40 was just the protein. Add the asparagus and the wild rice she bought, and we were looking at a $60 Tuesday night dinner. That's $300 a week just for dinners if we kept that pace. I bit my tongue. The fish was already bought. I didn't want to cause a scene while she was cooking. But the resentment started to build. It wasn't just the money, it was the disrespect. I had asked her specifically to limit the trips and the spending, and she had brushed it off because Leo wanted it. It felt like she was playing house with my wallet. She got to be the amazing girlfriend who cooked 5-star meals, and I got to be the silent financier. The breaking point came the following Monday. It had been a long, grueling day at work. My head was pounding, and all I wanted was a quiet evening. We had finished dinner, a roast chicken that admittedly was delicious, and the kitchen was a mess of pots and pans. Carmela and Leo were sitting at the kitchen island, laughing and chatting while I stood at the sink, scrubbing the roasting pan. The hot water was soothing on my hands, but my mind was racing with calculations of the month's budget. "That was great, babe," Leo said, leaning over to kiss Carmela on the cheek. "What's on the menu for later this week?" Carmela twirled a lock of hair around her finger. "That sounds amazing." My hand stopped scrubbing. "Ribeyes for 6 people?" "Yeah," Carmela continued, hopping off the stool. "But I don't have the steaks, obviously, and we're out of butter. I'll need to go to the store tomorrow or Wednesday." She turned toward me, her hand extended, palm open, a silent expectation. "Can I get the card, Mom?" Leo asked for her, casually, as if asking for the salt. "She needs to do a run." I turned off the faucet. The silence in the room was sudden and sharp. I dried my hands on the towel, taking a moment to compose myself. I turned around and looked at them. "No," I said. The word hung in the air. Leo blinked, confused. Carmela's smile faltered. "What?" Leo asked. "No," I repeated, my voice steady. "I'm not giving her the card." "Why not?" Leo's tone shifted from confusion to defensiveness. "She's offering to cook us dinner." "I gave Carmela the card on Sunday," I said, looking directly at her. "I gave you a list and a budget, and I explicitly asked you to get everything you needed for the week in one trip. I told you we needed to cut back." "I know," Carmela stammered, her face flushing pink. "But I didn't think about steaks on Sunday. It was just an idea we had today." That's fine, I said. But we can't swing steaks for 6 people this week. That's easily over $100 for one meal. I budget for groceries carefully, Leo. You know that. I saw the annoyance flash in Leo's eyes. He didn't see a budget. He saw his mother being difficult. Mom, come on, he groaned. It's just dinner. She's doing a nice thing. I appreciate the cooking. I really do. And I meant it. But Carmela is cooking on my dime, and she's cooking like she has an unlimited budget. She doesn't. We are eating better than we ever have, but I can't afford to sustain a restaurant-quality menu every single night. I took a breath and decided to lay down the law right there. If you want to keep cooking, Carmela, that is wonderful, but from now on, I am giving you a strict cash budget on Sundays. If you forget something, or if you want to make something expensive like steak or seafood that exceeds that budget, you or Leo will have to pay for it out of your own pockets. I can't do the multiple trips and the premium ingredients anymore. I looked at Carmela. I expected an apology. I expected, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. Instead, her lip quivered. She looked down at the floor, shrinking into herself like a scolded child. I was just trying to help, she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't know I was being a burden. Leo slammed his hand down on the counter. Mom, come on. Look what you're doing. You're embarrassing her. I'm not trying to embarrass anyone, I said, my voice rising slightly. I am talking about finances. This is my house and these are my bills. I apologize for not setting a limit sooner, but I'm setting it now. No steaks this week. Maybe for Christmas, but not for a random Thursday. Carmela turned and ran out of the kitchen, stifling a sob. We heard the bedroom door click shut down the hall. Leo stood up, his chair scraping violently against the floor. He glared at me with a mixture of anger and disbelief. Unbelievable, he spat. She's here for a few weeks. She has nowhere else to go. She's stressed out and she's trying to be nice to you. And you treat her like a thief over a steak? It's not just one steak, Leo, I argued back. It's hundreds of dollars over the last month. It's the principle that she ignored my request to stick to one trip. I am not a bottomless pit of money. She's a guest, Leo shouted. You're supposed to make guests feel welcome. You just made her feel like a parasite. She is not a guest, I corrected him firmly. She lives here. She is a member of the household right now, and members of the household have to respect the household budget. If you want steak so badly, Leo, you have a job. You buy it. I'm saving for my deposit, he yelled. You know that. And I'm saving for my retirement and your siblings' college, I countered. He shook his head, looking at me with pure disgust. You're so cheap, it's pathetic. He stormed out of the kitchen to go comfort her, leaving me standing alone next to the sink. The warm, soapy water had gone cold. My heart was pounding in my chest. I looked around my kitchen, the granite countertops I had saved for years to install, the family photos on the fridge. I felt small. I felt mean. The rest of the night was excruciating. I retreated to the living room with David. He agreed with me, but he hated the conflict. Maybe you could have waited until she wasn't in the room to tell Leo, he suggested gently. She needed to hear it, I insisted, though doubt was creeping in. She's the one doing the shopping. She's the one ignoring the instructions. Later that night, I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. I heard them talking in their room. Carmela was crying softly, and Leah was whispering to her, telling her that I was just being a boomer and that she didn't understand. He was painting me as the villain in their love story, the cruel mother keeping them from their happiness over a piece of meat. The next morning, the house was icy. Carmela wouldn't look at me. She didn't offer to make coffee. She didn't offer to cook dinner that night. Leo took her out for fast food, and they ate it in their room, leaving the rest of us to fend for ourselves. I made spaghetti with jarred sauce for David, Mia, and Sam. It was simple. It was cheap. It was quiet. Days have passed, and the tension hasn't lifted. Leo is barely speaking to me, giving me one-word answers. Carmela walks around the house like a ghost, avoiding eye contact, making me feel like a monster in my own home. They are still living here rent-free. They are still using my electricity, my water, my internet, but because I closed the credit card tab, I am the bad guy. I look at the bank account, and I know I'm right. The math doesn't lie. I cannot afford to feed 6 people gourmet meals 7 nights a week. But then I look at my son, the boy I raised to be kind and generous, and I see how he looks at me now, like I'm a stranger, like I chose money over family. I wanted to teach them responsibility. I wanted to set a boundary, but instead I seem to have set fire to the peace in my home. So, was I wrong for this?